Hello, Aviv. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. So please start whenever you're ready. Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Bravo to you, Aviv. Bravo to you. This is masterful playing also. Two in a row. What a level. What a fantastic level. This is really great playing. So many excellent features here. So many things I enjoyed. Again, I would say to you that basically everything is the way it needs to be. I can show you a couple of ideas that might be options, but there is certainly not any improvement on what's out there. It's just a nicer way, perhaps, to present material. For instance, so for me, one of the things that I think in your technique, if you worked upon, would be to remove the bow from the string comfortably and put it back comfortably, so that you would be able to play here. This kind of thing where you're just always comfortable somehow in movement. The other way where it shows up is in when you finish something beautiful, but it has finished like you've done your then you go, breathe and start when you're ready. Or from the air, or in movement, or stop, start, or down bow. But you practice this until you think, oh yeah, got it. Took me a while. I couldn't hear because these things are in my ear, and so I missed the first two or three. Not very good at all. Maybe it's that. I'm giving it the hope that it was the things in my ears, because otherwise that would be disappointing. It takes that long. But these things, so these two things, Aviv, I noticed, for instance, if you can take your bow off the string, and you're obviously a very easy virtuoso, so that's just a question of breathing at the right time. Now, breathing also affects the way that you approach the phrasing. And when you are playing here, this at the end, this G minor thing, so you're in G minor, so you change, and again you change. Not only do you finish on such a strangely down feel, but you also don't finish with a bass note. You finish with B flat in the bass. G is on the top. Where's the G at the bottom? So you need colors to express the change of, you go from G minor to A, you go back through D into G minor, but you don't get a bass note. Little things like that, because what I hear from you, you're playing is very intelligent playing, and I think you understand all of this. But you're just not taking enough time to present it in a way that's just like, so, you know, when you have dialogue, let me get back to the story. First time I ask, you know, second time I ask, third time, you know, I increase because it needed more. And so could you think about that? Then one other thing is fingering. If I may point out to you, your fingerings are good, but you can do more when it's a solo piece, especially when you're a great virtuoso, okay? I've told you over and over that I think you have great virtuoso tendencies, and so you're able to do many things very easily. So if I had your tendencies, I wouldn't have had to practice as much for what I was able to discover. But these kind of things are like this for me. You go like this, then you have your, you can go here. Now this will ring, so you can go. Again, you can go. So you can do beautiful little things like this. Very lovely. It's great fun. And I find a lot of times you're picking good choices, but not necessarily ones that give you pleasure as a player, that you go like, wow, that was great to do that. I love that. I was over 3 strings to get to this, blah, blah, blah. Or I love that slide. I've been waiting to put one of those in since the Brahms sonata I played a few months ago. You know, it's this kind of this kind of way of thinking. So it's more pleasure. The last thing I would just say, just as a detail, before I ask you to play some of it again, and any of these aspects, is that at the very beginning, of course, with that squiggly line at the beginning that Reger seems to have written, this chord, for me, this is the first suite, the first of 3 suites. So, and a much more famous composer who he revered, who was an organist also, and you know, the greatest organist and musician perhaps in the history of our planet, wrote a G major suite with 3 clear voices. I always felt that this was to pay homage. He called it a suite, and he wrote this in. So for me, there are 3 voices, and he's trying to point out there are actually 3 voices. And if you look through it, there are predominantly 3 voices. In any case, this, so that's an interesting, the second one is not. So this one flows. But the first one has a tiny, oh, that's a very interesting interval. Now, could you look at one other thing technically, which is something that I like to play with? And since you are so amazingly good at these things, I would say I would take a look at this. And this is involving the thumb. At the beginning, hang on. Yeah, at the beginning, this. To get the camera. Where do I need to be? Here? Okay. Thumb. So because that gets me into second position. So little tiny little things into the technique like that can be very useful. And similarly, if I may be so cruel to give you one last thing to think about, maybe you can look later if it's too much to remember, is in the second bar, you have a chance if you play a simple fingering, let's say this fingering, and you're flowing because it's as you expect harmonically. Now, instead of going, I would suggest you do this with your left hand. You go. 1. So you get legato. And again, 2. 2 there, so you get 1. So So you can make the double stop sound simultaneous by having the other note prepared or ready in some way. So for me, this whole opening becomes a fantastic interest. I can talk you through it. This is just how I do it briefly, just so you're aware, okay? I go like this. I think soft hands and easy chord, and it's in 3, so I'm going to go soft hands and get my fingers ready because I'm going to use that later. So enjoy the interval. Move the thumb. Now I think get the first finger ready. Now I think bow, 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 sound. Finish well with big bow. Breathe, start again. More. And start traveling. More. Travel again. And peak, etc., etc. That's pretty much, if I was thinking through a piece, that's what I think. Now, I'm curious, what is it that you think when you play through the piece?
I don't know, just about the music, about the flowing. There's very calm atmosphere. That's what I think.
Good. And what atmosphere do you think this piece is about for you, Aviv? What would it mean to you? Emotionally, how do you feel about this?
I compare it like something like recitativo or some improvisation. That's what is mean to me.
Very good idea. Good. Okay, can we hear it again with some of those features if you would like to try, if possible? I might have to stop you somewhere in the middle, Aviv, okay?
Just a second.
Well, it's excellent, Aviv. As I said before, you have also amazing gifts, very quick to absorb ideas already. I can see where they will go in fruition if you play with them, if you want. Although it's again, it's only a question of if you want. Um, the general playing and the general way that you're approaching this piece is excellent. I think you're getting great. Um, you're showing your gifts very well. Your gifts are very good here. Your gifts are very good. I would always say one last thing, and that is just one last thing. I think you always need to play a game between flow and resistance. So if you have things that are going like, then this becomes mood, and this becomes, you know, mm, sorry, I know we're running out of time, but you just play this game sometimes. I think just, if you can get a little more from that game of flow and where resistance exists, and there was another place I just yeah when you are here like a then you can play it like this. So there has to be something, in my opinion, which creates enough flow and that allows it to go free for a moment without it being always expected. I would just say that it's the last story I would say is because I heard a wonderful story from Robert Levin. Robert Levin, thank you, Aviv. Sorry, I will finish with a story. Thank you, Aviv. It's beautiful playing. Let me just say this story from Robert Levin. He was a Harvard professor, wonderful musician, great pianist and composer. He said that his teacher, Rudolf Serkin, had been interested to get a lesson with Reger on his piano concerto because he was Serkin was playing it somewhere, Philadelphia Orchestra or something like this. And so he went to Germany to find him. And he went to the village where they said that Reger was always practicing the organ. He went to the church, and he heard this incredible noise coming from the church. It was just a deafening roar of noise, and so he knocked, but of course nobody could hear that. So he went into the church, and he went up to the organ area, where he saw a man bent over like this, completely bent over, and beside him was his feet were on the pedals, and his arms were pushed down on the keys, and beside him was 3 empty bottles of vodka. This was something like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. So one has to also realize that Reger, as tidy as the music sounds and as academic, etc., must have had another side where he had 3 bottles of vodka in a church. So be aware that that side also must have existed in his playing. So don't be afraid to occasionally allow yourself musical fantasy and not be so locked into following all the rules, because obviously Reger didn't follow all the rules. In any case, Aviv, it's been wonderful working with you. Great pleasure. You sound great. I see only good things ahead for you. So just keep everything flowing and good luck with everything.
Thank you.